on the shore, relentless in the war. The legions in our hearts, shed waters in our balls. The spirit and the flesh, the emotions that arrest. The cerebral will contest, propelling the unrest. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Trembling in the haze with the semblance of a blaze. With gratitude and rage, we touch another page. With delirious delight, impervious to light. This vitality and might encourages the flight. Preachers and bandits with means underhanded. The teachers pedantic and lack understanding. So sweep out the sand with the broom in your hand. Stand up, make we burn Babylon. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Guess I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. The world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. Cause I can give the world to you, but the falling of the curtain is for certain. Be careful where you're lurking, demon searching. The spirit and the women fight the battle within. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what dwells behind the curtain. The face of evil's lurking, with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this, the 5th episode, I believe. It is episode number 5 of the review. And today we're going to be going, as is our want, into certain psychological things with Joan. How's it going, Joan?
Good. How are you doing? How's everyone?
Yes, I am doing well. I see that some people are already here present in the chat. Shout out to Aaron B. Shout out to D, K Polymath, and blind guy, his wife, their life. Okay, so let's see here. Are there any, before we get into this, are there any introductory remarks you want to give to this video that we're going to review? Have you seen the video before? Were there any initial thoughts? Anything you want to put on the table?
Oh, this will be exciting. I saw about half of it, and I'm looking forward to analyzing this woman.
I see.
I already have my opinions about it, so. And funny enough, okay, so I'm like so behind with Urban Dictionary, I had to look up what femcel meant.
Yeah, you gotta step up your game here in the media landscape.
I'm learning a lot of these words on YouTube, so bear with me.
So what is a femcel? What did you find out?
Well, there's different ones where I think the one that I remember clearly is that the woman blames the man for her being single.
Okay. Okay. So shall we say, irrespective of the reasons, irrespective of the reasons or the blame, what exactly is a femcel? Is this just a single person? Is an incel, which is, by the way, is an involuntary celibate? Is it just because it's just a single person? Is that a definition? Obviously, the parameters are also different for a woman too. So, in terms of what single means for a woman, it's different from what single means for a man. But what does it?
I mean, just
respond to whichever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my understanding is that involuntary celibacy. Obviously, she's not with anybody or getting some, and she just blames the men for her not being in a committed relationship.
Okay, so could you be involuntarily celibate without having to?
Involuntarily.
You find that part funny? You see, this is privilege. You see, you come over here with laughing with your pretty privilege, talking about. So the involuntary part you find funny, but okay. Can you be involuntarily celibate without blaming others? Or in other words, can there be legitimate reasons like, hey, you know what? I don't blame them. I have a bad luck of the draw, for example.
I mean,
but it's not my choice. Like, I
can't help it if the guy. Right? Yeah, can't help if the guy doesn't sleep with me. I see. So interesting. And because you went to the value ascribing or judgment end of things in terms of they blaming people, but can we have a working definition that basically it's people whom can, because in this case it's a question of procreation as well, and that's why I said that it is different for a man, right? A woman most likely can find somebody to have sex with. Let's just kind of say that. Okay. It's just like, so it's a little bit, the parameters are different, right? For men, it's just that it's 0 or 1. They're having sex or not. For a woman, procreation, and she mentioned things such as love and some things which we're going to get into, right? But basically for her, what would you say that definition is? What is it exactly that she wants that she's not getting that will then perhaps put her, and by the way, maybe it's a little clickbaity. I'm not saying she's a feminist. I'm not ascribing any kind of names to her, right? I found the video to be interesting from a psychological point of view. And we throw in something in there that will draw some eyeballs because it is femcel adjacent. But what would you say is the line? What does she want that she's not getting that will put her in this particular category? She, from just the parts that I saw, she sounds like, she wants to have kids. She wants to get pregnant, but she's also not committed. Like, she doesn't want to get married. And that's just from like the parts that I saw, it sounded like that's all she wants. She wants to have kids, but then, I mean, obviously, like what kind of guy would want to just knock her up and not be committed or like have any role in it? Like she just sounds like she doesn't really know what she wants, and she doesn't want to blame it on herself for her being in a situation she's in. I mean, we can go into that like more, but I feel like the way she explains herself, it sounds confusing. It's like she wants to have kids, she wants it to come out of love, but at the same time she doesn't want to get married, and it's like, it's like, what do you want?
And it's like that, putting out that energy of like non-commitment. Obviously, you're gonna draw, like, attract that as well in the dating scene. If all the guys that she described so far, like, they just didn't take her seriously, because I mean, can't blame them.
Yeah, you say "What do you want?" a lot. You should get a T-shirt like "What do you want?" and like put a Daria picture. You know Daria, right?
Yes. La 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 na na.
Yeah. Do you get Daria more or Velma more? Anyways, never mind. Let's go ahead and share this, and let's see what's going on here. I'm going to unshare, as a matter of fact, and reshare. I believe her name is O Stefo. So do you know how that is pronounced? What do you get from that name?
Stefco? I mean, I'm assuming her name's Stephanie.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, Stefco. And the video is titled, what, Joan? What is it titled before I share it?
What is it titled?
Yeah. What is the title of this video?
It's what was it again?
Yeah, not this one.
I won't have kids, and I'm okay with that. It was something like that.
I won't have kids, and it is okay. Any responses to the title? Is that a good choice of in terms of obviously there's a YouTube component to this, right? You could talk about her craftiness with the title, and also any other reactions just as a pure observer.
I mean, my first thought was that she didn't want kids and she's okay with that. But then when she started talking about it, she clearly wants kids and she just has to be okay with it, that she doesn't have any.
Okay. So you're saying, is there also, or is it the same thing that, in addition to what you just said, is there the whole, if I'm okay with something, why am I saying anything about it?
Exactly.
Are you one of those? Okay. Is that a fair critique, or is something unfair about saying that? It's like, oh, come on, you can't. People can still say stuff even if they're okay with it. Or am I BSing right now?
She wants to vent. She wants to put the blame on something, on someone, or whatever.
Okay. She wants to put a story around it, a narrative that fits, that works, that makes sense. Let's put it and tuck it into a particular shelf, and then we can say something about it. And while the share and unshare keeps happening, don't worry about it. We just keep having a improvisational conversation while the share decides to behave itself. But let's see here. It's called I will never have kids, and it is okay. So let's go. Fair use.
YouTube, welcome to my channel. Today's video is one that if you had told me that I would be making this a year ago, I would have never believed you. If you saw the title, which if you clicked on it, you did, I'm going to be talking about how I made peace with the fact that I will never have children. Now, the video title could be a little misleading. From the title, it might look like I am childless by choice, or I'm purposefully child-free, and that I love that, and I never wanted kids, and I'm so excited to be child-free. That is not the case. So if you clicked on this video looking for, I want to say, community or some place to find like a voice that aligned with yours, and you are purposefully and happily child-free, this is not the video for you. I'm going to be talking about grief. I'm going to be talking about disappointment. I'm going to be talking about.
So, Joan, the first thing that I would like to say here, and perhaps you notice it, is there's a certain level of candor and a certain level of open up to or understanding and preempting the criticisms which we leveled regarding well, if you're okay, why are you doing it? Or why are you over here? Like, I'm happy, but it's like, well, why are you announcing it if that's the case? So she's saying, in your opinion, why is what she's doing different from that which she would have been guilty if she did? Or whatever?
Right. She wants to share her story as to how she came to terms with not having children, that she will never have it. I mean, obviously, YouTube's a place to grab people emotionally. And so if she can find a community of people that go through the same thing she does, I mean, yeah, it makes her feel better.
Okay. And she's saying that if you are in the community of, oh, I never wanted them anyways, and it's all good, look how great this stuff is, you don't have to feel bad if you don't want this, or so on and so forth, then she would have been guilty of that whole stuff of like, oh, chill, relax. It's like, people like, anyways, if stuff is so good, trust me, people will know. Like, it's like, oh my God, you've heard about this thing called air? I just love breathing. It's great. You should try it too. It's like, people know that. So up front, because there is a level of self-awareness here, which is one of the things. There's self-awareness. There's probably going to be some talk about insecurities. There's going to be some talk about accountability as well, right? So from the self-awareness front, so far, what kind of assessment would you give her in terms of what she has said so far?
She said so far. I don't think I have enough. I don't think I have enough to say at this point. I mean, I'm still trying to understand where she's at with her self-awareness. She's looking for that self-awareness, obviously. So we'll see how she vents on that.
All right. Sounds good. Fair use.
Really, really dark depression, centered around the whole idea of, I did want children and I'm not going to have them. So if that's you, if you are childless, not by choice, then this is a video for you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to say to anybody who clicked on this, I hope that you're able to find peace with whatever your situation may be, and however you came to understand that you would not be able to be a mother or even a father if you click this and you're a man. Here's my story though. So I am not a person who has struggled with infertility in the traditional ways. I have never, been in a couple or in a situation where we've been trying consistently for years and nothing's been happening. I have never had to go through IVF. I have never, gone through those very painful and medically expensive and emotionally traumatizing and exhausting situations. And my heart goes out to anybody who has faced that battle, whether or not you're still fighting it or whether you fought it and you got to the end of it and you didn't have a baby. My heart goes out to you because it is almost unbelievable what we put our bodies, minds, and souls through to bring life into this world when it isn't easy for us. So my heart, love, support, prayers, everything goes out to you. You are true warriors. And like I said before, I hope you have peace around your situation, no matter what it is. Here's my story though. I remember being in high school and thinking to myself, wow, if I can't even get anybody to ask me out to a dance, how am I supposed to get somebody who wants to marry me? And if I had known.
Okay, Joan. So far, she went ahead and separated herself such that it gave us a perhaps better definition of the whole category she's in. We said kind of Femcel. What is that? She said, well, it really centers upon this kind of reproduction, marriage area per se. And then regarding the reproduction, she's not one of those whom made a decision she doesn't want. Yep, check. But also, it's not a medical situation, right? She made that clear. Not going through these particular medical difficulties and so on and so forth. Shout out to you. You go through a lot to try to make things happen. But she now went to, high school, America's favorite little obsession, high school. By the way, Joan, why are you guys obsessed with high school?
I'm not obsessed with high school.
Dum, dum, dum. What do you think what do you think goes on there though with regards to the culture and that obsession?
When I was in high school, I was very, I would still say I'm an introvert, but I was super introverted. And I was definitely looking for my way, looking for my path, figuring out who am I?
You were a femcel like her?
I don't necessarily think so.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let's get, be real, right? I didn't have a boyfriend in high school, but it was more because I was just shy and I didn't know how to be in a relationship. So I just didn't really try. I remember in high school, I had a crush on the same guy throughout the whole high school period, and I never spoke to him. That was how shy I was. But, you know, as when I got past that, you know, high school, the college, all that, I just never really cared about high school. I mean, definitely high school had that vibe, like, oh, who's the most popular girl in school and this and that, who's going to be the prom queen, whatever. But I never cared for those things. I like keeping to myself. So I think the obsession with high school is that, you know, if that was, yeah, people use that as like, oh, that's where you make it or break it. Like
Yeah, it's
whoever
like this is
you
your
come
benchmark.
out.
This was the
Right.
lab, and if you were this person, this in high school,
Yeah.
they decided who I was.
Right. And I think who I am now compared to who I was in high school, I mean, I don't think anybody really thought I would, you know, I was the girl that they said, oh, she's never going to move out of Rialto. I was,
Right.
yeah, people like said that, like I was never going to leave town, but I was one of the first ones to leave town. You know?
You got on and got out of there. Okay,
But,
cool.
yeah.
So she said in high school she wasn't getting approached, right? So even before we go down the line here, you see, what people tend to call insecurity, which I think is in this case is a distinct thing, from many other social maladies, if you will. So you could talk about there's introversion, which is different from shyness, right? Shyness is just that there are many shy extroverts out there, okay, and not so shy introverts. So introversion, extroversion, shyness, social awkwardness, difficulty with certain kind of language and communication skills, so on and so forth. All those things are kind of taken for granted as particular problems that combine to form other kinds of conglomerations of problems, but it's not necessarily in the insecurity dimension. The insecurity dimension is something distinctive and psychological about you and how you are interacting with the social environment, right? Would you say so? Or am I being, does that any of that make sense? If I may reiterate, basically that insecurity is not just a combination of some shyness and some social awkwardness and so on and so forth. That there's something deeper, and we're going to get to it, I think, in this video. And it's not just, oh, I was a shy kid, or, oh, I just can't talk, or, oh, I ain't got game. Like,
I mean, I think it's how you see yourself, yeah, is where the self-esteem is. I mean, I was shy, but I didn't necessarily have low self-esteem when I was in high school. I just didn't like people.
Yeah, that is the one thing I wanted to say. I think I should have just the self-esteem aspect of the insecurity, because, and also from self-reporting too, you can know, as you just did, that shyness was not a problem of Jones, or self-esteem was not the issue, because in you, I presume you're like, what the hell? I'm Joan. I don't give a F about these people. I just don't like people. I'm kind of awkward around. I don't know, and they're kind of dumb. And
yeah. I just thought a lot of people in high school are dumb. Like, I didn't care about that.
Yeah. So, and I think that it is. Yeah. That self-esteem thing is not all these particular external markers per se. There are many reasons for those external markers, as we just mentioned, in terms of insecurity, social awkwardness, blah 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 blah. But self-esteem, I think, is what we're going to find in this video. Self-esteem issues, that is. And let's let her continue with worried about the marriage thing. At least she knew what she wanted in high school, right?
Right.
I mean, it was, right? It's not
it
this
sounds like
issue
it.
of, yeah, okay. Like, hey, where the husband's at?
How real that question would turn out to be for my life, I probably would have made different decisions. So I grew up in a very, very religious Baptist home. My dad did Bible study with us every Wednesday night. And even though when he was young, him and my mom were out doing whatever, he really preached to me and my younger sibling, save yourself before you get married, don't have sex before marriage. You're going to have a husband. This is your role in the church, your husband's role in the church, bibbidi bobbidi boo, right? Meanwhile, the boys that kind of turned my head and the ones that liked me were not the guys in my church. They were your Travis Barkers. They were your, it was so interesting, the dudes that would show up.
Fair use.
in my life, because they were not people that I had been raised to feel I was equally yoked with. And it wasn't, honestly. I did not have the life experience that they had. I was not doing the things that they were doing. I really do think it was just a situation of opposites attracting. That's what I think. But
Okay. So she said something there. She said the guys that turned her head, in other words, the guys she wanted, right? And also the ones that approached her,
We're not the ones
in
she
other
wanted.
words, and it's the same. Pardon me?
Yeah. The ones that wanted her were not the ones that she wanted.
Per se, who's Travis Barker? But I think that I get the picture of she was looking for the bad boy or something.
He's
Right?
the drummer from Blink 182.
Oh, I thought she said Barker. Okay, Parker. Okay, my bad. So she wanted Travis Parker. She's listening to I See the Problem. She's listening to Blink 182. That's her problem right there. Case closed. No, Blink 182. They're cool. So
I mean,
Travis
that's
Parker.
just how it is. I mean, in high school, that's just how it is. You want the one you want, and then the ones that like you don't like them. That's just that's just normal. That happens,
Okay. So it's not the case more so that she was thinking like, oh, I want this husband type because it's not Travis Parker.
Right. I mean, do you really know? I mean, when I was in high school, I didn't know what kind of guy I wanted to marry.
Yeah. Okay. So she's able to at least have some choice, it seems, in the matter, even though she's not getting everything that she wants, right?
Right. No, she has options. She just didn't want them.
And I don't think she is not, or she's not an unattractive woman,
Right.
right? She's not the prom queen, but there's nothing like wrong with her, So it's like, okay. So Travis Parker wasn't showing up. All these other cheerleader hoes got the Travis Parker game sewn up. And what does she do about it? Let's see.
it caused a lot of cognitive dissonance for me because my parents had always made it seem like it was so simple. Like you were going to meet this person and, it was a person that God had meant for you and y'all were going to get married. It was going to but it was never simple for me. Romance was never simple for me at all. I always struggled with that area of my life, finding people that were compatible, that, the situation wasn't so diverse whenever we got together, finding somebody who understood me, being a Black girl that grew up in an all-white suburb that liked a variety of music, and I was just this anomaly. And a lot of times people around me would say, I can't see you with anybody. I can't imagine anybody would be a good match for you. You're probably the weirdest person I ever met. And I think I internalized a lot of those things. And not only that, but I have a video on my channel about pretty privilege that'll either be out by the time this one comes out or it's coming, where I talk about just not feeling ever like I was received well in society, going out, never being hit on, never being the girl in the group where somebody's like, "Oh, I want to talk to her."
All right, Joan, rapid fire session. First of all, she brought up the religious stuff and the background stuff and said, oh, my parents said it was going to be so simple. What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I kind of grew up in a religious background, but we kind of steered away from that as we got older. But definitely I could see how the religious aspect in her growing up limited her mindset, like just her perspective, that she has to, that's just the way it's supposed to be. That was just one perspective that she grew up with. But I mean, just from everything she just said so far, is that really how she was treated? That she's the weirdest one? And did they really say that to her? And the thing is, like, when you're in high school, you kind of, like whatever people say about you, you kind of take it the wrong way. So I think she, I mean, like she said, she internalized all the things that people say about her, but it's really like,
okay. Because when we get back to this whole insecurity thing, we're going to talk about this kind of external thing that she's doing there. About there's a lot of external stuff. My parents, high school, People always said, people always this, the kinds like blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's the thing about the religion stuff. Second question in the rapid fire session is, she said pretty privilege. This is the second time that phrase has come up here. So Snuggles will also like to know in the chat, what's the deal with pretty privilege and why is she coming for pretty privilege here?
Oh my God.
And it wrapped up in that is the whole, it's not that she in other words, she already said that there were guys, right? Maybe not the ones I wanted. And then she goes into this never being hit on. And it's like, trust me, you were hit on. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Get the hell out of here. You were hit on. And, but she wanted to be the one, right? She wanted to be, ooh, I got to talk to her girl. But it's like, what the hell? Everybody can't be the, ooh, I got to talk to her girl.
No,
What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I wasn't that. I was not that at all in high school. I mean, those types of like terms didn't exist back in high school, pretty privileged. But if I were to go back in high school, like, I don't think I never felt like I had pretty privilege. I definitely saw other girls I grew up with that I thought were super pretty, and that was the standard or pretty. But I mean, that's the thing. She's holding on to these standards that she grew up with, like with high school. I mean, come on, it's high school. And from my understanding, she's like in her mid 30s now, right? It's like you still haven't moved on from that high school mentality.
Okay. So, and then, okay, so we've kind of, let's now just talk a little bit about what you sense about the external focus, right? So we talked about all these external parameters independently. Now let's talk about the fact that she's focusing on external things, because this goes into that self-esteem issue.
Yeah, I mean, she's listening too much to what other people think of her, sounds like, but she's not really coming to, I mean, it sounds like she just doesn't really have an idea of herself. She's just going off of what everyone is telling her. I mean, I think if you have enough self-awareness and, if you want to build up your self-esteem, you have to look at yourself and be like, okay, is there really anything wrong with me? She's going off of what everybody else is saying is wrong with her.
And that is a vicious circle sometimes, in the sense that it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it sounds like as she goes on in the video later. It sounds like whatever she's putting out, energetically about herself is what she's attracting back. I mean, it sounds like woo woo and magic and stuff, but it's really how it works. She's just so caught up in what everyone thinks of her, or what she thinks everyone thinks of her, but she's not really coming to terms with, like, who does she think she is, I mean, she's not unattractive. I mean, she's got a look about her. She looks interesting. She looks like she's, like she'd be fun to talk to.
I know a lot of people that like that specific brand of chocolate right there. That's like, oh yeah, it's good. Okay.
Like, she looks fun. Like, I don't know. Like, like, I go clubbing with her.
There you go. But I think it's the fun thing, though. I think that because it's that self-fulfilling thing which we just mentioned, which is, there is this whole, people are looking at me a certain way, I'm going to put out that vibe. Even that vibe I'm getting from this video. Again, no shade to Steph Cole, right? Just using it. Obviously, she put this video out there, right? So it's like, okay, let's use it as a foil for conversation and so on and so forth. So what she's presenting here in this video also gives off that vibe of what could be generally called antisocial. Antisocial doesn't mean anti, just means, having issues with the social thing. There's almost, you sense like a lack of a center, and based on what she's presenting, based on all these external stuff she keeps saying, I've never heard anything from the inside,
Right. Yeah. So
like,
far,
I was always I wanted to, it was all like, oh, well, these people, and then my parents, and then this, and then
exactly.
that was not that girl. And then okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th episode. This is episode number 5, right, John?
Yes, episode 5.
And so far, so good. So far, so good, ladies and gentlemen. 5th episode of the review, and over here we are going over what we are dubbing Femcel type conversations, which hinge on insecurities and accountability. And so far, we've seen a lot of externalization focusing out there with not a lot of self-esteem per se. So let's see what appears next. Fair use. Fair use.
You know, pretty
Sketchy.
much feeling invisible, and then at the same time, people telling me I was really too weird for a significant other. So, that being said, I
Too
always
weird.
struggled finding a partner. And even though I knew I really, really wanted to have a child, I also knew based on how I grew up, and I knew based on just the desires of my heart, that I wanted that child to come from love. I don't think I was ever really big on we had to be married. I think just because, again, I couldn't even get a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even get a guy that wanted to date me consistently. So I didn't, those things didn't match up for me. I never thought about myself as a wife. I still have trouble thinking of myself as a missus because I'm 37 years old and I still don't have that experience. But I have cared for children. I have worked in education. I know I could love a child. And I wanted to make sure that any child that I had came from love. Like, in my opinion, their father didn't have to be, my husband of 50 years. Their father didn't have to, they just had to be somebody that loved and appreciated and respected me. And I couldn't find that either. And I really, really struggled. The first guy that I was ever in an actual relationship with, it was verbally abusive, emotionally abusive. He was terrible to me. He made me hate my body.
All right, Joan. So a lot more external stuff, just a lot more like no one ever told me I was a wife, or I never felt from the outside world what this wife thing was. So I never saw myself as a wife because I never had that experience.
I know. What does she mean by that? Like, okay, I've never saw myself as a wife, so because I didn't have that experience. Well, like, no one really gets that experience until you're a wife. Right?
No, there's a delusion aspect to this.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a delusion aspect to this where it's like a Disney movie where all this, and coupled with that whole external stuff, where all her value seems to be, as she's presented it, seems to be coming from external stuff. Like, no one ever treated me this way. No one ever wanted to date me for a long period of time. People said I was awkward. Notice how she never says why, or, yeah, I'm
Right.
kind of awkward. I'm a little weird. I don't really like, you've already said things about like, oh, I don't like people. I thought they were dumb in high school or this or that. I can see why they thought I was weird because I wasn't weird, that kind of a thing, right? There's never anything coming from that first person perspective. It's always people said I was weird. People didn't tell me I was a wife. My parents told me this and da 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 da. It's
Yeah.
rather strange. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's not self-reflective. She's not asking herself the question she should be asking. Like, she hasn't really specified so far what kind of man she wanted. She's more focused on, I want to have children, but I don't see myself having married. And it's like a very conflicting situation to be putting out there. So you want just a guy to be sperm bank, But I mean, I've heard, I mean, I don't know. You're a guy, right? Like, how would you feel if you date somebody and then she said like, oh, I don't want a committed relation, or I don't want to be married. I just want to have kids. Like, how would that make you feel?
Guys are not really, for sure, guys are not really in it for the kids. So let me speak now personally. Hell no. Like, what the hell is that?
Exactly.
Let's just have kids. And also the thing that, the love word also, let's just talk about it because she has now finally brought it up. She said, she's been saying all these external things and she added another one, which is love, which is kind of, I know she means something external. There's no way. So what is she missing? Something emotional here, right? That she's not, she's like, okay, I can be with these guys, but I want the baby to be out of love. And I never felt like the it girl. I never felt like this. So speak to the whole love thing, where you think she's coming from with it, and will she ever be satisfied?
Well, if she wants a child to come out of love, obviously she needs to be with a guy who's got some level of commitment to her and then having a child with her. And I mean, again, it just sounds
But
very
Travis Parker's not
conflicting.
like that. Anyways.
Yeah, I know. I guess she just sounds very conflicted with what she really wants. Like, okay, well, then if you just want to have kids, then just adopt. If you're like, she hasn't pointed out exactly what she wants out of a relationship, or like a man, like a person to have this kid or children with. And so again, I mean, I'm still like really confused. Like, so what do you want? You just want to have kids, but not be with someone. I don't know. I mean, she's talking about like, oh, she wants, I mean, I understand the whole love thing. Like, she doesn't want to get knocked up and then the guy just leaves because he didn't care about, like, is like, she doesn't want to have children that are like considered a mistake. She wants, she wants the child to be born out of like, hey, we want you to be born. My partner and I wanted you to exist. That's why we created you. And she wanted it to come from a loving place in that sense. But I mean, really, how can a guy take her seriously and have a child with her when she doesn't even know what she wants out of the guy? Basically, yeah, it sounds like she just wants to use the guy to have a kid.
Okay, so let's see here. Let's see here how she continues. She dropped a couple of words, okay, and it'll reflect a pattern that we're about to see going forward, which is the pattern of I met horrible people, right? The pattern of, first of all these external signals are not there. She seems to be focusing out there in the world with a very kind of a negative bent, like seeing all the things that are not there, right? And then there is I meet negative people. I meet people that are not right, even though she already gave us a hint as to, she knows the people that are right for this job, but she probably doesn't want those, right? But the whole abusive thing, it was verbally abusive and emotionally abusive. And meanwhile, this person that everybody keeps saying is weird, I haven't told anything about why I'm weird or what I might have been doing in this abusive relationship.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. I mean, she hasn't specified what she wants. She's not clear on what she wants out of a man. Therefore, she just blames them all for she's just blaming the outer circumstances. She's not really thinking about what she wants and how she feels about herself.
All right, fair use
of me for not being like this wild woman. And I realized a lot later that my body was responding that way because emotionally I was rejecting him, but I was too young at that time to understand why I was having such a hard time letting loose and enjoying myself because of the really conservative way that I'd grown up, which I think is fine if you're the type of person that gets married at 19 or 20. When you're 25, 26, and you've only had one sexual partner and it doesn't look like you're going to be having any more because it's really hard for you to meet people, I was really confused about how to express myself. I didn't know how to express my sexuality. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I liked. So I really couldn't even, after I left that situation with him, I felt like there was really nowhere for me to go. I couldn't go out and try this and try this and try that because how was I going to meet these people? I didn't understand how to do it. I met another guy at work, and he was a couple years older than me. And he was very, very a good teacher in the bedroom, but he was horrible to me emotionally. Again, right? You had a person who didn't understand really what I wanted and what I was about, just was in it because it was easy for him to access me sexually. And also you had a person who was very, very clear with me that he wasn't really into conventional relationships. He didn't want to.
All right, John. What about that last thing there that she said, which is basically, okay, this guy taught me, was a good teacher in bed and all that kind of stuff. But, he was horrible to me. Well, let's leave that side a part aside. And then it was like, well, he was just selfish and he knew what he wanted. Blah, blah, blah. But then in the other situation where she was the one, quote unquote, emotionally rejecting somebody, whatever that means. And I blame it on my dad. My dad made me not enjoy him in bed. And I was only thinking about what I wanted. But then this other person, well, they're only thinking about what they want. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, she also finally said, like, I didn't really know what I liked. You know, like she didn't know what she wanted. So it sounds like she still doesn't. She's she
This is
needs to,
this is okay. Go ahead. What experience do you have with this kind of a thing in terms of
yeah.
in your life? Like, what is this thing about? I don't know what I like. I don't know who I am. She literally said those words, but seemingly not dwelling on that long enough to be like, huh, this is the beginning and the end of the problem here.
Right. She clearly doesn't like the behaviors that those guys that she dated, and she doesn't like their behaviors. So she needs to make a decision like, okay, I need to avoid guys like that. She has not been clear what type of man she wants to be. And that's the problem. You know, for me, when I went through my dating phase before, you know, got married, I made it very clear with myself, okay, I'm dating because I want to figure out what I want. And then at some point I made up my mind, I don't want this, but I want that. And she needs to make a decision for herself. Okay, what do I want? And I made a decision for myself. I want to be in a serious relationship. I want to get married. And that was what I decided for myself. And therefore it came into my life in that way, because I was at that point where this is what I want. And she still has not made that, you know, she still doesn't make that clear. She just wants kids, but it's there's that in between, right? Like her kids, there's a guy. It has to involve a guy.
So that makes a lot of sense what you just said. And we also no other. She made it seem like, okay, the number of sexual partners that one has is this massive issue. What I mean is, obviously, if you have 1,000 sex partners, it's like, okay, well, that's something of note, enough of an outlier. But how much of a problem is it? Like, she made it seem like, oh my God, I couldn't get. In other words, again, she's a woman, she could find somebody, right? But the idea of, oh, I was so sexually repressed by religion that I just found it hard to kind of. Is there any truth in that kind of thing? I find it to be, in my kind of experience, total BS, total hogwash. I think that whatever the whole dance of sex, communication, passion, sensuality is, it's a very much in the moment animalistic thing that you can't blame anyone for locking you up in that cage. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
you need to it's something, open up that key and, you know, get the hell. I know no excuse. Anyways, so this whole importance that she put on, oh, I had this, I didn't have all the Tyrones I wanted. So how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, she sounds like a very negative person. She has a very negative outlook on dating, and that just doesn't work. If you're